So I just got home from checking out Together, the latest horror film coming from Neon that is a really interesting body horror film that has to do with relationships and the nature of codependency, the lack of identity, and all sorts of other things, and the way that relationships that can be either one-sided or completely blind to the world around them, sometimes just getting lost within themselves, can have people just flat out lose who they are, flat out have feelings of resentment, hatred, and all sorts of things, while also having love that can sometimes be fueled in the wrong direction, and how in general sometimes the wrong kind of love and not really working in unison with one another can lead to a combination that is monstrous. I won't say much more about it in that way, but what I can say is that if you're a sucker of body horror, if you're a sucker for weird horror films, if you're a sucker for an idea that just goes for it, Together is definitely a movie to check out. While I think the ending of this film is going to be divisive, there were some people in my theater who were laughing on the way out. There were some people in my theater who were like, what the hell's going on? And then you had me, myself there going, I don't really know if the ending really stuck the landing for me. One thing that's undeniable is that this is a really strong feature-length debut as a writer and director for Michael Shanks, who wrote and directed this film. Talk about a top-tier way to start your career as a director and writer. And then you have great performances from Franco and Alison Brie, who you can tell definitely employed real life experiences with one another to add to the chemistry, but definitely in the moments where they're struggling with their relationship, you can tell that they were able to lean into maybe some times that they struggled in their own relationship to make those moments feel really real and tangible. And while as a horror film, it's not really a horrifying film, it definitely has some very unsettling and unnerving portions of the film that are really heightened by really strong cinematography and sound design. And seeing this in a theater, that sound design was definitely heightened with the fact that the theater I was in had really good audio and definitely added to some moments that oftentimes felt very eerie or claustrophobic, which again goes hand in hand with the cinematography. Overall, when it comes down to what this film has to say about relationships, I really appreciated its approach using body horror as this allegory for the notion of being consumed by one another in a way that just ends up kind of ruining each other's lives and sometimes ultimately doesn't really create a relationship that feels like it's in unison for the best, but ultimately how there are also relationships that can come together in this way where you lose the identity of both people, even if it isn't like a monstrous combination. It just feels like, who are these people? You know, it's just one couple that isn't really fully fulfilled, but then there's the beauty in that as well. I think the ending of this film is going to have people have different takeaways, but what I can say about it is that it's incredibly well acted. It has its eerie, creepy moments. It's very well made. And while the ending is not going to be something that's for everybody, and I'm not even sure it was for me, it's definitely a movie that I almost want to see again. And the question is, have you checked it out, or are you planning on seeing this one?